Hello, Amanda from Gloss Creative. Welcome to Fashion Exposed Melbourne.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So basically one of your key messages when you started out the presentation today was thinking with freedom and about stepping outside of your brain and thinking in a creative space. You know, as a busy retailer, you mentioned that there are ways to sort of do this in your environment. What are those tips? What do you suggest?
Okay, I think one of the most important things is to give yourself the time to be able to have a dream in the first place. Everyone's busy on their day-to-day work, but I think creativity comes from a place where you set a little bit of time aside just to dream and to follow it up with a bit of research and a few scribbles, and then really layering up what you want to do and really setting aside time to do it and relaxing into it and enjoying it, I guess. Yeah,
does that mean taking even just an hour a week, or
I mean, we do it 8 hours a day every day.
You live it.
But if you put aside a couple of hours a week, one to dream and an hour to do, you might be able to come up with your networks of creative friends something pretty amazing. Yeah.
So Gloss Creative take a brand and they express it in a 3D way. Can you explain that multidisciplinary design process in a bit more detail?
Sure. Really, it's not the VM that we're about. What we're about is creating an emotion and a feeling about the brand. So, say Sports Girl's about fun and fashion and friends, then when we think about that idea, we create things that feel like that look like that. So whatever brand you have, just think about what are the emotions that you want to express and how you can do that in an artistic way.
Sure. You mentioned building a VM window bit by bit and adding sort of, intermittently to that. Is that a process that, you should just sort of start a window display and then move on to something and just add week by week, or?
Yeah, I think you have to, when I talk about layering up ideas, I think that's in the initial stages where you get a brief. Okay, what's the solution? What to the problem or the opportunity we have? What's the design? And I think you need to let it be in your head, your dream be in your head for a while, and then do some research, and then your research informs you as to where to take the design. You might find some amazing elements, or the rope that I was talking about. You might find an incredible object that helps you design by the object, that sort of thing. Or you might see then a great idea that you overlay on top of that. So you slowly build it up. You need time to do that. So if you've got a window in a month's time, start thinking about it now. Give yourself a good week or two to think about it, and then action it in the next 2 or 3 weeks after that.
And it's also not about just, relying on your own creativity. It's looking outside of that and seeing who's in your local area, like that amazing woman that you found does macrame through a friend of yours.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing the people who can do stuff just in your neighbourhood. Ask around. There's always, your local carpenter, might be amazing. Your local metal worker, people who can sew, who can craft. There's lots of those people around who you can bring in and help you create these things. You don't necessarily have to be able to do everything yourself. There are lots of really creative people out there.
Yeah, absolutely. You also mentioned that Gloss Creative are impact minimalism specialists.
Yeah.
What do you sort of mean by that?
Okay, we call it grand simplicity. It took us about 5 years to actually work out what our style was. We just did it naturally. We just it always came out in us, and only after a while you see patterns forming in your style, and I'd look at it and I'd go, everything you do is iconic, everything's quite big, and it makes an impact, but it's also pared back and really quite simple. So that's why we came up with the grand simplicity, which it is. And then one year we entered an awards competition, and one of the judges' notes came back and it said, this kind of impact minimalism. We thought that was a really cool, designy way to say what we already knew.
Yeah, absolutely. And what inspires you? I mean, there must be so many things.
I guess,
Do you travel a lot?
Yeah, definitely. I think, whether it's local travel or, travelling overseas is always inspiring. Overseas for me is not so much about going to see shops as if I see a shop, I'm inspired by the level of creativity that people have reached. But we go to galleries, we go to gallery bookshops, we eat out, we go to talks, we don't just hang out in retail, we hang out across the the board, because often it's things that come from out of your area that are inspiring to us as well. We're inspired by craft. We love that new movement in craft. It's really giving craft a rebirth, which we love. We love architecture. We love floristry. All of those things we bring into the mix of everything that we design as well.
Fantastic. Thank you for your time.
No worries. Thanks.